Obviously, some things are picking up for the University of Texas on the recruiting trail. What's new? It seems like the Longhorns always gather a ton of momentum on the recruiting trail around this time of year, but more so than ever because of a one Arch Manning. And so now as we pick things up, we obviously know what Texas A&M did a season ago, what Texas is apparently fixing to do in this year's cycle. So I want to know, Carl, if you had to project which program between the two wins a national championship first, who are you picking and why?
Well, I'm going to pick Texas A&M, and I'm going to pick them for the simple fact that Jimbo Fisher has won a national championship before. So he's already shown us that he can do it. Also, he has also shown us he can beat Nick Saban in Alabama, which is a prerequisite for winning a national championship. The University of Texas has not won the Big 12 since 2009. The Big 12 has been one of the weaker Power 5 divisions, conferences, and I just think that Jimbo Fisher has positioned up to this point Texas A&M to be in a better position to win a national championship than the University of Texas is currently.
I think under today's current landscape, it's real hard to predict the future because things change so quickly. I mean, Texas underachieved last year and turned over 40% of their roster, mainly through the transfer portal and obviously some recruiting. So things can change quickly. Can you keep these kids? Are they going to stay? I mean, they both have taken different approaches. A&M currently is probably a little bit ahead of Texas right now because they've been in the SEC for years. They understand what they need to compete with the Alabamas of the world. So I think their defense is ahead of Texas. And Texas obviously has gone in the portal and really upgraded their roster on offense. So it'll change. They both have had good recruiting classes the last 4 years. Texas had 1 year outside of the top 10. So I think, you've got to keep roster retention is huge. You've got to be able to keep your good players. Texas has recruited a little bit more in-state than A&M has. So can you keep these guys in-state from out of state leaving, to go back where they're from? So I think there's so many things. It has to be a perfect storm. The SEC is obviously a very difficult conference to win in, but I think both teams are headed in the right direction. And then another thing is can Texas keep all of their 23 commitments? I mean, committing doesn't mean anything until you put your name to paper. So I think that's something to keep an eye on as well. But I like the direction that both teams are headed. And I think Texas just needs a marquee win this season. If they could beat Bama, give fans hope, give recruits hope like A&M did last year beating them, then that would obviously go a long way.